If you love or appreciate nature at all, I think you're going to find this video game very impressive. This is Red Dead Redemption 2. It's a game that came out in 2018, but it looks like a game that will come out in 2028. This game, if you don't know, has what is widely considered to be the most robust and detailed nature simulation of any game ever. The year is 1899, the place is Middle America, and you play as Arthur Morgan, a classic Western outlaw. Don't be fooled though. Arthur Morgan is not the main character of this game. This is the main character of the game. May I stand unshaken amidst a crash of worlds.
Stand unshaken amidst the crash of worlds.
These are words from the game. Specifically, they're from a song that plays at an important moment in the story. I can feel the sentiment of those words throughout the game. The crash of the kind of man Arthur has been and what kind of man he must become. The crash of Western civilization into untamed nature and all that entails. It's a central theme of the game, and it's also a sentiment I felt within myself as I played it. But I'll get into that later. Let me first explain why this open world is so good. Rendering a natural environment in stunning detail would be impressive enough. But Red Dead 2 goes much further. There's a weather simulation that takes humidity, temperature, and wind patterns into account for the creation of fog, clouds, and storms. There are different types of clouds that form dynamically and interact with the wind and sunlight passing through them. If you're patient, you can watch a rainstorm approach from the horizon, complete with distant lightning and thunder, and that very specific suffocating green tint that the sky takes on before a big summer storm. That rainwater then comes down and hydrates the soil, changing its color and consistency and creating puddles that ripple under the raindrops. There are different kinds of soil depending on the region. Some soil is rocky and firm, some is muddy and loose. My favorite is the red soil, rich with clay. And from that soil, dozens of unique plants can be found, all natively growing in places with respect to their ecosystem. Some plants favor the riversides, some favor mountaintops, some only growing in the swamps, and some in the desert. All the trees adhere to the habitats that they would realistically be found in as well. The plants in this world are not just set dressing. They serve as the foundation of the food chain in the game. You can watch many kinds of herbivores graze and forage, and also exhibit behaviors like herding together, twitching bugs off their ears, rolling around in the grass, drinking from water sources, and of course, scouting for predators. You can even find diseased animals, like a group of deer with mange. The wolves and coyotes hunt in packs, coordinating and chasing. Black bears mostly keep to themselves, foraging for berries and running away from loud noises. Grizzly bears, on the other hand, dominate their territory and pose a real threat, forcing you to stand your ground if you hope to survive. Snakes blend in and ambush, so that you have to watch your step among ground foliage. The eagles and hawks perch on cliff sides and dive down for fish and rodents. There's many more predators, and they all hunt the prey items in their regions in their own unique way, and all are lovingly animated. It's such a treat to find an elusive predator and just watch them through binoculars. And if you're lucky, you might see them in the middle of an actual hunt. If you're unlucky, their hunt will be the last thing you see. While the weather and geology and animals and plants are each faithfully recreated, it's the interaction between all these things that's the biggest achievement. Snow and mud deforms when animals walk through it, like with this snapping turtle waddling through the swamp. The apex predators hunt and kill prey, and then scavengers pick at the corpse afterward. And if you're paying attention, you'll even discover that the corpse decomposes over time. The world of Red Dead 2 is a celebration of life. It has a water cycle, a life cycle, and a food chain. The developers of this game put years of research into this system, and it shows in hundreds of ways. And as I enjoy the fruits of their labor, a question bubbles up in my mind. Does this game love nature? It seems like a silly question. Of course it does, look at it. But it's a question that gives me pause. It gives me a shaken feeling. I think I know why. But first let me introduce you to the player character, Arthur Morgan. As Arthur, you can interact with this whole ecosystem in a lot of ways. He gets wet when it rains, cold when it snows, and overheats under the sun. And it's up to you to put him in appropriate clothing to keep your health and stamina optimal. It's also beneficial to keep Arthur well fed. And while that can mean going into a general store and browsing all the items, which have been modeled with excruciating detail, you can also opt to engage with the hunting system of the game. There are over 200 different animal species in the game, and all are available for you to hunt. It's not just a matter of pulling a trigger. If you want to get the most out of this system, you're going to have to pay attention to the intricacies the developers have built into it. This starts with using your binoculars to study the animal from afar to find out the quality of the creature. A higher quality specimen will yield better resources like fur, meat, skin, horns, and so on, that can be used to better feed Arthur, or craft better items. What's more, a 3-star quality animal will become 1-star quality if you kill it sloppily. A clean kill is rewarded, preserving the quality of the pelt and the meat, and also reducing the suffering of the animal. That last point is made painfully clear through the animations of the creatures in their final moments. Some animals are more difficult to hunt than others, forcing you to dig even deeper into the systems. Paying attention to the direction of the wind or putting on a scent masker will help you make sure your quarry downwind isn't alerted to your presence. You can fish in lakes and rivers, on foot or in a boat. You can selectively attract herbivores or carnivores with different bait. You can craft different bullets or arrows to tailor your weapon to the kind of animal you're hunting. A high-caliber rifle will kill a rabbit, yes, but it'll also ruin the pelt. You're better off with small arrows for small game. While a buffalo will require nothing less than high caliber in order to make a clean shot to its heart. I'm going to talk about the skinning of the animals now, so if you're sensitive to that kind of imagery, feel free to look away for about a minute. Almost every animal in the game has a unique skinning animation for when you go up to collect the resources from the animal you hunted. You don't just click a button and the animal parts pop into your inventory. Arthur takes the animal and deftly skins it, revealing the muscle underneath. He rolls up the pelt and whatever else he took, and then you place it on the back of the horse. Or you can carry and load up the entire creature to sell it whole. You can also skin the creature and then carry it, which leaves blood on your clothes and your horse, and passers-by will make comments about your prize. For those of you who don't play many video games, you should know that this kind of layering and deformation of materials is basically unheard of in video games, let alone dozens of unique versions of it. Like I said, it's a game from 2028. If you're not interested in hunting animals, you can keep to foraging and cataloging plants, which Arthur actually plucks from the ground in realistic fashion and places in his satchel. You can eat the plant directly to get some short-term benefits, or to get poisoned if you don't know what you're eating. In addition, Arthur is secretly an artist and will sketch any new animal or plant you encounter in his notebook. He'll also do this with landmarks he finds interesting. As you encounter more animals and plants, the game collects the details about them in a wildlife compendium, which both serves as a gameplay reference for hunter-gathering and a genuine mini wildlife encyclopedia with actual researched information about all the life forms. One of my favorite interactions in the game is how authentically you disturb all the nearby creatures. The way you can look around an area and notice maybe a few animals, but as soon as you start walking or riding through, so many little critters and birds reveal themselves as they scramble away from you, and you can't believe how many animals were there just under your nose. While it may just be a consequence of the systemic nature of the simulation, it does capture the bottom line of your relationship with the wilderness as a human. An unwelcome disruptor, even at your most benign. The beauty of this land, the majesty and realism of these creatures, they fill my heart. But they also sting my heart, because they remind me of a painful truth about my most beloved art form. That shaken feeling, that question. Does Red Dead Redemption 2 love nature? Can it? I know the developers do. But can video games as a medium love nature, when the technology that makes this art form possible is manufactured with terrifying amounts of pollution and habitat destruction? Let's take a broad view of the problem. Our hard drives and batteries are made with rare earth metals that are mined by destroying mountaintops and other ecosystems. Those metals are typically processed with strong acids which may not be disposed of responsibly. A single chip fabrication plant can use millions of gallons of water a day and outputs hazardous waste. Then the plastics that make up much of our devices, of course, add to the global plastics problem. And eventually our computers and screens of all kinds typically end their life in a landfill. Some game companies do programs for planting trees or commit to using more recycled materials in their packaging. While programs like that are appreciated, relative to the scale of the problem, they amount to little more than publicity. Look, lots of things we buy are made with the blood, sweat, and tears of the most vulnerable populations. In that, video games are not special. The technology that makes this very video possible is also made by reprehensible means. I think the difference, for me, is many of the video games that I enjoy most are a love letter to the natural world, and its majesty, and its mysteries. And so, I don't know, I guess I feel a special responsibility on video games to coexist with the world in a more respectful way. Is it so much to ask for an art form to respect its muse? I love when video games pay homage to nature, the way Red Dead Redemption 2 does. But that homage should not run only as deep as a layer of pixels. This point isn't lost on Red Dead 2 either. The game makes it pretty clear where it stands on the role technology has in tarnishing the environment.
civilization. What a damn mess we're making of things.
The biggest, most advanced city in the game is also the area most devoid of natural beauty. As Arthur, I look at the light bulbs and tram lines in the city the same way I, as a player, look at Red Dead Redemption 2. A miracle of technology. And just like Arthur again, I go back into nature and remember the cost of that technology. An unnecessary cost, I should add. It really doesn't have to be this way. The video game industry made over $180 billion in 2022. There is plenty of profit margin there to have sustainable manufacturing processes. I say all this because I want to see more of these kinds of games in the future. Ambitious games through which I can enjoy nature. At the same time, I want to stand unshaken in my principles amidst a crash of the video game world and the natural world. Because I don't want video games to eventually be the only place I can enjoy nature.